Hello, this is Anna Sanderson, the Grant Program Manager, and my colleague Rachel Patterson, the Director of Programs for Diversity, will cover tips and tricks to help you develop your grant proposal for the Diversity Pipeline Research Grant Program.
Characteristics of a strong pipeline program. This is a non-exhaustive list of key characteristics of strong pipeline programs. As you think through the type of program you want to create, think about including some of these elements. Long-term engagement. So many students, particularly students who are first generation and/or economically disadvantaged students, need ongoing intentional support. Ask yourself, do your program participants have sustained support through all critical stages of the process? Or does your program work with students for a finite period of time? If your program works with students for a finite period of time, ask yourself what happens after that. What support do they have? Holistic support. Are students getting academic, professional, social, and emotional support in your program? As an example, many programs address the LSAT and the law school admissions process, but fail to address important issues such as test anxiety or familial challenges or pressures. Access, affordability, and value. Is your program increasing access for students who are pursuing a legal education? Is your program helping to make law school more affordable for program participants? Is your program helping students see the value of legal education? Brainstorming. Give yourself ample time to brainstorm. Take the time that you need to really think about what your program will look like. Why do you want to create it? Whom do you wish to serve? What are your goals and objectives and outcomes? How will you measure your success with this program? And more importantly, the success of your students. Size and scope. Far too often we receive applications from programs striving to serve a very large group of students, and the instructor-student ratio is not ideal, and in some cases is akin to what many students experience in their high school or college classrooms. With pipeline programs, we want to create a different and better experience for students where they can hopefully receive extra attention that they would not ordinarily receive in their current classroom environments. Think carefully about how many students you want to serve, what the teacher-student ratio will look like, and if you have people on staff who are well equipped to serve your students. Also think about the programming itself. As you think through the types of programming you wish to provide, whether it be LSAT prep, mentoring, or tutoring, ask yourself, is this content integral to the success of my students? Why are we adding this particular element of the program? How does this add value to students? As an example, all LSAT programs are not created equal. Ask yourself, are the instructors who would be teaching LSAT prep well qualified to do so? Are you devoting an adequate amount of time for students to really improve their scores? As another example, if you want to include mentoring as a part of your program, ask yourself why. What is the purpose? What do you hope to accomplish? How will these mentors add value to students? In other instances, we see applicants throw everything in the proposal but the kitchen sink. No program can and should do and be everything to all students. Figure out what you think you can do well for a set number of students. Timeline. Think carefully about the timing of your program. If your program serves freshmen and sophomores, their time likely is not well spent preparing for the LSAT. Rather, they could benefit more greatly from working on academic skill building, critical thinking, and potentially internships to build their resumes. With college seniors, if a program begins in the fall of their senior year for LSAT prep, that is not ideal if they want to attend law school the following year. An LSAT course that is 2 weeks long is likely insufficient for students to make significant gains during that time frame. 2 workshops on the law school application process in a program that serves college seniors is likely insufficient. So you really want to think through the content that you're providing and the timing of your program, and you want to ensure that those two things align in order to position students so that they can effectively be admitted to schools of their choosing. Leaders and instructors. Who are the people at your institution or in your organization who are best suited to provide direct services to students? Who are the content experts? Just because someone has a law degree does not necessarily mean that they should be a mentor. Just because someone earned a high LSAT score does not mean they should necessarily teach an LSAT course if they have no teaching experience. Just because someone was admitted to a Tier 1 law school does not necessarily mean they are well suited to advise others as to how they can be admitted. Really think about who the content area experts are and how they can support you in your efforts. Are there people at your school or within your community who may be of help to you? Evaluation. Another area where many applicants struggle pertains to the evaluation portion of the application. How will you evaluate your students? Will you have pre and post tests? Will you conduct surveys or have small group discussions to gather feedback from students? Will you hire an independent evaluator? What are the various forms of formative and informal assessment that you plan to incorporate to determine whether your program is or is not successful? The evaluation plan is essential. We sometimes receive applications that do not have a fully formed evaluation plan. Here at AccessLex, we are funding these types of programs so that we can increase diversity in law schools. These efforts, though, are somewhat exploratory in nature. We are trying to figure out what does or does not work. It is essential that grantees really think through the research questions that will be answered as a part of this effort. Surveys seeking feedback from students are positive and great to have. We also need to see how you will evaluate the quality of the program through formative assessment. How will you know if you have been successful, and who is in the best position to make this assessment for you? These are all key questions that you want to ask yourself as you develop your proposal for you. Budget. As a general matter, we prefer for the majority of the budget and operating costs to go directly to students. And sustainability is really important. Ask yourself, how will your program sustain itself after the grant period ends? What steps will you take during the grant period to secure additional funding? We have increased the number of resources available to prospective applicants in an effort to increase transparency around the Diversity Pipeline grant application process. If you are listening to this recording, you are likely on the right track. Utilize the resources available on our website for prospective grantees. Make sure you complete all required components of the application. Familiarize yourself and relevant parties from your institution or organization with the grant agreement, which is also available on our website. Be mindful of the deadlines, and if you have any questions after reviewing the information available on our site, please email grants@accesslex.org.